Ji Yusuf, alaikum assalam. A cost that bears an observable and known relationship to a quantifiable activity base. A cost that can be brought into a mathematical equation is an engineered cost, like units of output and the direct material consumption, units of output and the labor usage, units of output and the electricity consumption. So this is something which we can bring in a mathematical model. So such costs are called engineered cost. Indirect costs are like manufacturing overhead, fixed and variable, we discussed. Sunk cost is the cost that has already been paid in the past, like the book value of your assets, historical cost of your asset, or the cost which you are irrevocably committed to pay in the future. And target cost, we will discuss this in our next subunit, but let me give you the idea what is target cost. Let's say I want to sell an item, and my market research tells me that this item can be sold at $120. That is the target selling price. Okay, so and I want to earn 40% profit on this selling price. So my target profit, TP, or simply write it as target profit. I want to make 40% of this amount as my profit, which is going to be $48, right? So what you're left with, the difference between the target selling price and the target profit, is called the target cost. 120 less 48, it's 72. So this $72 is what you call the target cost. If you want to sell an item at 120 and if you want to make a profit of 48, then you must produce the item at $72. This is the target cost you must achieve. Now, right now, let's say if your cost accountant tells you the cost of production is going to be $90, then this gap between what the cost would be as per the accountant and what the cost should be as per the target cost, this is $18 is the gap which you will need to overcome. How do we do that? It's all coming. This is done through value engineering. So right now, this is not the discussion's topic. We have already found the answer to our question. It's engineered cost. Let's move on. Now, this is a good question containing many explanation of key terminology. Huron Industries has recently developed two new products, a cleaning unit for video discs and a disc duplicator for reproducing movies taken with a video camera. Two items, disc duplicator and a disc cleaning unit. However, Huron has only enough plant capacity to introduce one of these products during the current year. Only one can be introduced because the plant capacity is limited. The company controller has gathered the following data to assist management in deciding which product should be selected for production. Huron's fixed overhead includes rent and utilities, equipment depreciation, supervisor salaries. All these are fixed costs. Selling and administrative expenses are not allocated to products because they are not product cost. We know that. Now, this is the detail given. Basically, in this question, no calculations required. Just you need to refine your concepts, your understanding of different cost terminologies. Raw material, machining at $12 per hour, assembly at $12 per hour. This is the labor cost. Variable overheads, fixed overhead. These are the four components of cost we discussed. Material, let me mark these clearly so you know what I mean. This is material, raw material. These two are different types of labor, which you call DL. This is DM. This is the variable overheads and this is the fixed overhead. These are the four components of your cost. Fine. So this gives you the total cost of production. Suggested selling price is $169 for disc duplicator, $99 for cleaning unit, and actual research and development cost already spent on disc duplicator $240, cleaning unit $175. Proposed advertising and promotion cost $500 and $350. Okay, now what do we need? For Huron's disc duplicator, the unit cost of raw materials, machining and assembly. Raw material, machining and assembly, basically they represent direct labor. So direct material, direct labor, the sum of this is called what? Conversion cost? No, because conversion cost is the sum of direct labor and manufacturing overhead, which we know is a combination of fixed and variable. So this is not the right option. Separable costs are those costs that are incurred separately on a particular product after the split off. This is incorrect as well. Committed cost are the costs which we have already paid and we are bound to pay after every period, like lease payments, like depreciation, rentals, property taxes, so on. This is basically prime cost, because prime cost is the sum of direct material, direct labor. So yes, that's right. All of you are right. That's prime cost. Prime cost is the answer. Moving on. Same data, but the requirement is different. The total overhead cost of $27 for Huron's video disc cleaning unit. $27 for video disc cleaning unit. This is video disc cleaning unit, and $27 for overhead means $18 for variable and $9 for fixed, combining 18 and 9, 27. So this $27, the total overhead, it is what kind of cost? It's carrying cost. Carrying cost is the cost incurred to carry the stock in your warehouse. It includes warehousing, rent, salary of the warehouse staff. No. Discretionary cost is the cost that depends upon your decisions. No. It's a sunk cost. No. Sunk cost is the cost that has already been paid, or you are irrevocably committed to pay under a contract. It's a mixed cost. It's a mixed cost because it's partly variable, partly fixed, combining it, giving you 27. That makes sense. Next, research and development cost for Huron. Look at this. Actual research and development cost which has already been paid. Actual research and development cost means it has already been paid. So such a cost is called sunk cost. Conversion cost is the sum of direct labor and factory overheads. Relevant costs are all those future cash outflows that will be incurred in the future. And avoidable costs are those costs which we can avoid completely, or we can reduce by performing that operation more efficiently. So this is incorrect as well. Now, next question on the same data set. The advertising and promotion cost which is proposed. Remember, research and development was already spent, gone, khalas takum. That's why it was a sunk cost. But this cost, advertising and promotion, it is proposed. It will be spent in the coming period. So it cannot be a sunk cost, nor it's a committed cost, because we are not bound to pay. We may refuse any time. This depends upon our decisions. It's a discretionary cost. It's the cost that depends upon our decision. And this cost has no observable relationship with sales or with research. So that's what you call discretionary. Rest of these we have discussed. Committed costs are the cost which you have to pay no matter what, because they are the result of your past agreements. Lease rentals, property taxes, insurance, depreciation are called committed cost. Opportunity cost is the cost, or what you can say, the benefit that you have given up for a decision. It's called opportunity cost. You will get a fuller idea of this concept in your CMA Part 2, Section C, Decision Analysis. And then incremental cost, we discussed that the additional cost of a decision which you have to pay is called incremental cost. Finally, the cost included in Huron's fixed overheads. Fixed overheads would include rent, insurance, property taxes, right here. Huron fixed overhead includes rent, utilities. You may argue, you may criticize that utilities are like electricity, they vary with the usage. But let's say if the utilities involve water bill, which is fixed in most of the cases. But utilities word, this is debatable, because utility includes electricity, gas and water, and the bill depends upon usage. But let's ignore that. Consider rent, depreciation of equipment, and supervisor salaries. These are fixed costs. These are fixed costs which you have to pay. So we don't see any word fixed. The costs included in Huron's fixed overheads are joint cost, wrong, because joint costs are the costs incurred jointly for joint products ABC. It is not an opportunity cost. It is not a prime cost. It's a committed cost. Absolutely, Omar, you are absolutely right. It's a committed cost. All right, moving on. Now we have our next agenda. Absorption and variable cost. Absorption costing, if you just take a close look, this is absorption costing, which clearly makes sense that any cost right now, we discussed direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead. When these costs incurred in the factory, if they are considered as a part of your product, direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, fixed overhead. It becomes a part of product cost, also called the inventoriable cost. And all the costs incurred outside the factory, like variable selling, variable administration, fixed administration, they are considered as a period cost and they are not included as a part of product. This system is called the absorption costing, right? This system is called absorption costing. We use this system in our external financial reporting. Remember, our external financial reporting under the IFRS, under the US GAAP, these standards require us to include your direct material, direct labor, all factory overhead, both variable and fixed, as a part of product. This method sometimes is called full costing or also called the absorption costing. This is under the law, under the international accounting standards, generally acceptable accounting principles. So this is more or less like even Internal Revenue Services in the US. You have to consider the fixed cost as a part of product plus the material, labor and variable overheads. This is called the absorption costing. Comparing this with an alternative system, an alternative system which we management accountant developed called direct costing, also called the variable costing. Now what this system says, it says direct material, direct labor, variable overhead, fine, they are inventoriable cost, but fixed overhead should not be included as a part of product cost. Fixed overhead should be treated as a period cost. Now why? What is the reason? Why do we do that? We will discuss that. Why? But in such a system where fixed overhead like rent, insurance, property taxes, it is considered as a part of expense, as a period cost, not as a product cost. This system is called direct costing. Now what is the reason? We will discuss. Alternative method which we management accountants have developed called variable or direct costing. It includes all the three variable manufacturing costs, DM, DL, variable overheads, but the fixed overhead costs are not included. They are considered as a period cost and they are shown as a part of your expense for the period. Now why? Why is it so? Let us again emphasize our point. I told you absorption costing, also called the full costing or full absorption costing. In this system, we absorb our fixed overheads into our end products, which means your product cost will include all the manufacturing costs, both fixed and variable. And why? I told you it is required under the US GAAP, it is required under the IFRS, it is required under the Internal Revenue Code. This is the tax authority in the US, and as well as, of course, in external financial reporting. So we came up with an alternative system called the variable costing, also called the direct costing, where we consider only the variable manufacturing cost as a part of product. And what is the reason behind it? The reason we management accountants believe that fixed overhead like rent, insurance, wo dena hi dena bhai, you have to pay it. Rent, insurance, property taxes, they are more on maintaining the capacity rather than actually producing a good. This argument is fine because rent has to be paid, production kare na kare. If you don't produce anything, still you have to pay rent. You have to pay insurance. You have to charge depreciation. So this argument is right, but this argument can be defeated. If there was no factory, no rent, there would be no production. So there are counter argument as well, but there is some special reason why do we use variable costing. So let us first try to bring it in some numeric form. Look at this. At the end of the fiscal year, Jubal Manufacturing recorded the data below. It says if Jubal uses variable costing, the inventoriable costs, the costs that should become part of inventory, are what? We just discussed that the variable costing will take the prime cost, which is sum of direct material and direct labor, plus the variable overhead only. So which means under the variable costing, the cost that will go to the product cost or inventoriable costs is $900,000. So that would make B to be the correct option. If you do the same question using absorption costing, the number would be different. In this case, we will have to incorporate the fixed costs also, because in absorption costing, direct material, direct labor, variable overhead and fixed manufacturing overhead, they are added into the cost of product and they are called inventoriable costs. It's going to be 960, 900 plus 160, that's 1,060,000. In other words, 1.06 million. 1.06 million, or you can say 1,060,000. So that makes C to be the correct option. Now we haven't yet fully convincingly answered why on earth do we need something like this? Why do we need to separate the fixed cost and not consider it as a part of production cost? We need to answer this. As I said that the variable costing method, it is not permitted under the US GAAP, not permitted under the Internal Revenue Services. Your financial statements must be prepared on the US GAAP. Then why? Absolutely, Ross, you are absolutely right. For decision making, the main advantage of using the variable costing, the main advantage that we get, that we can prevent the management from manipulating the numbers. Main advantage of variable costing, Ross is absolutely right. It is very useful for decision making, and it will also help us to prevent management from manipulating the numbers. This can help you prevent the management from manipulating the results. What does it mean? It doesn't make sense. How can management manipulate financial statement in absorption costing? We just learned a little while ago that under absorption costing, direct material, direct labor, variable overhead and fixed overhead, they become part of product. And in the variable costing, we have direct material, direct labor, and only variable overheads. So under absorption costing, fixed overhead becomes part of product. So management will deliberately produce more and more and more so that more fixed costs could be absorbed into production. More fixed costs could be transferred into ending inventory. Like I know I can only sell 100 units as per my average market demand, but I deliberately produce 150 so that more fixed cost is transferred into these units, and these extra 50 units, they will carry with them, these extra 50 units, they will carry with them some fixed overhead into your closing stock, and this fixed overhead will not get expensed, so your profit will look artificially higher. How come? It doesn't make sense. How can it be done? Let's do it. A question that will explain the point. Now look at this, a wonderful question. Trouton Company manufactures radio-controlled toy dogs. Summary budget financial data for Trouton for the current year are as follows. We are expecting 5,000 units to be sold at 150, so expected revenue is 750. Variable manufacturing cost for these 5,000 units is going to be 400. Fixed manufacturing cost 100. Variable selling 80. Fixed selling 150. If I just do not read anything else, if I just take these numbers, let's see how much profit do I get. 750 sales, less 400, less 100, less 80, less 150. So the profit comes out to be, anticipated or budgeted profit is $20,000. Okay. Trouton uses absorption costing system with overhead applied based on the number of units produced. Fixed overheads are absorbed into production using the number of units produced with a denominator level of activity of 5,000 units. So that's the planned production, and fixed cost is absorbed into our production units using the number of units. I'll explain this concept. Any underapplied or overapplied manufacturing overhead is written off to CGS. I will explain this further when we will be doing our section C. Section C. How do we treat the under and overapplied overhead? And also you'll discuss this in the cost allocation techniques. So just forget about that for the time being. The problem is this $20,000 profit that you see here. This is the cause of concern. This $20,000 budgeted operating income from producing and selling 5,000 toy dogs planned for this year is a concern to Trudy George. This profit is not good enough. Trouton's president, the Trudy George, who is she? She's the president of this company. This profit figure is not attractive. She wants to manipulate the numbers. How she's going to do? It says she believes she could increase operating income up to $50,000 even by selling 5,000 units. How can she do that? because she needs $50,000 profit, because that's where she will earn her bonus. That's the bonus threshold. She need to earn at least $50,000 to be rewarded bonus. If Thruton produces more units than it sells, she knows that she can only sell 5,000 units, but she will deliberately produce more. She will deliberately produce more so that the fixed cost right here, more and more fixed costs can be transferred into closing stock, and this will increase your gross profit, right? So Trudy George, she wants to raise the profit up to $50,000. How she will do it? If Thruton produces more units than it sells. Let me make it clearer here. For incentive, if Thruton produces more units than it sells, thus building up the finished goods inventory, how much of an increase in number of units in the finished goods inventory would be needed to generate $50,000 budgeted operating income? This is the profit level she wants to reach by manipulating production. She knows she can only sell 5,000, but she will produce more. How many more units she will have to produce so as to reach this targeted profit level? Let me show you. For this, you need to look at what is the fixed cost in total. That is $100,000. How many units are you planning to produce? 5,000. So you will take $100,000 as your estimated fixed cost, and you are planning to produce 5,000 units, which means each unit will carry $20 into the finished goods. $20 worth of fixed cost will be absorbed, will be allocated into the end product, into the finished goods. Thruton uses absorption costing system. This is the absorption costing where fixed cost is absorbed into products applied based on the number of units produced, right? With the denominator level of activity being 5,000. So every unit you produce, it will take $20 of fixed cost into it. This $20 will bypass your income statement and your profit will become higher. Now, if each unit takes $20 with it, and we want an additional, because already we are getting $20,000 profit, we need to take our profit level from 20 to 50,000, which means our profit should go up by $30,000. Each unit we produce takes with it $20 of fixed cost and hides it in the closing stock. This $20 per unit fixed cost is taken away from the system and stored in the closing stock. Which means if $20 can be taken away by single unit, divide 30,000 to 20, you will get 1,500. If you produce 1,500 units more, instead of producing 5,000, you should produce 6,500. These extra 1,500 units will carry with them $30,000 of fixed cost into your closing stock, and this fixed cost does not get expensed, so your profit will become 20 plus 30, $50,000, and you will earn your threshold profit. Bonus, whatever you were expecting. So this is clearly cheating. This is cheating. This is not expected. This shouldn't have happened. That's the problem we want to avoid. That is what we are talking about. Manipulation. See, main advantage of variable costing method is that income cannot be manipulated by management actions, whereas management can manipulate income using absorption method. So under absorption costing, profits can be manipulated. You just saw that how it can be done. You will deliberately produce more. Let us go deeper into this concept. Now take this example. A firm produces 100 units. It takes in 1,000 of material, 2,000 of labor, and 1,500 of variable cost. So your variable manufacturing cost is 4,500. Okay. We need fixed cost also. If you bring in fixed cost, which is 3,000, your full cost will be 7,500. Now, if I ask you to calculate the unit cost under variable costing and unit cost under absorption costing, 100 units were produced, 4,500 upon 100. So that means your unit cost is 45 in variable costing, and 7,500 upon 100, your unit cost is 75 under the absorption costing. The difference between these two clearly is $30. This $30 is the fixed cost that is going into each unit. Each unit carries $30 worth of fixed cost. Now, we know we will only be able to sell 80, but we deliberately produce 100. We know we will be only able to sell 80, we produce 100. These 20 extra units we produce, they will carry with them 30 times 20, $600 worth of fixed cost. $600 worth of fixed cost has bypassed the system. So this will show that since you produce more, sale was less. So under absorption costing profit, your profit will be higher because you were able to transfer fixed cost into the finished goods. If you just look at the numbers, you will see that under absorption costing, the profit is 1200, whereas in variable costing, the profit was 600. The difference being that in variable costing, entire fixed cost gets expensed. Complete $3,000, this $3,000 he's talking about. This $3,000 in variable costing, the whole of it gets expensed. But what we have done in absorption costing, we transferred $600 of fixed cost into our finished stock. That's why the profit is manipulated by $600. So if you produce more and more fixed cost will get transferred into closing stock, your profit will be even higher. So for how long can you do it? Maybe you can do it for some time, but this is not sustainable, right? So that's the problem can come. So as production and sales level change, two methods can show different operating incomes. When whatever is produced, like in this example here, if you produce 100 and all of these 100 units are sold, Mafi closing stock, there is no transfer in closing stock, whatever produced is fully sold, both systems will show same profit. Everything produced during the period, if it is sold, there will be same operating profit under the both systems. When everything you produce is sold, that means you were not able to transfer your fixed cost into closing stock. So that's why your profit would be same under both methods. There will be a difference when production and sales are not the same. It can happen that your production is more than sales, you produce then more than sale, or maybe your sale is more than production. It makes sense. You produce 100 but only 80 were sold. But how can you sell 100 when only production was 80? Can anyone tell me how is it possible? You sold 100 but production was only 80. How is it possible? Absolutely. You would have sold from your opening stock. Some units would have been available in the opening stock. So you might have sold some units from opening stock. That's why sale is more than production. So this is possible. So these are the two situations. Whenever production and sales, they are not equal, one is higher than the other, then both systems will show different profits. Both methods will show different profits, and that's what our concern is. So now here is a very important comparison which will help you understand this concept even in a finer detail. Now please guys look at the detail given here. When production exceeds sales, let's say you produce 100 and you sold only 80. You produce 100 but you sold only 80 units, which means your ending inventory will expand. You will have more units in your ending inventory because production is 100, sale is 80 only. So these 20 units which you didn't sell, they will go up to closing stock. Your closing stock will expand, which means this closing stock, expanded closing stock, this closing stock will contain some fixed cost which does not get expensed. Right? Fixed cost is carried away into the closing stock. Hence, your absorption costing profit would be higher. Operating income is higher under absorption costing. So this is a very important conclusion you can understand right here. You can grasp whenever your production is more than sales, or put it other way, whenever your closing stock is more than opening stock, they are the same. Whether you take production or sales or closing stock or opening stock, the number would be same. Like here, if production is 100 and sale is 80, you will have the same numbers here. Your closing stock will be 20 units higher than opening stock. We will prove it through numbers. So whenever production is more than sales or your closing stock is more than opening stock, that would mean that more fixed cost has been transferred to closing stock. So your absorption costing profit would be higher. Absorption costing profit would be higher than variable costing. This is a simplification. On the other hand, when your production is less, your sales is more, what would it mean? It means the previous fixed cost which was absorbed in your closing stock, in the previous year closing stock, it will now get expensed prior year fixed cost which was included in the opening stock, it will get expensed in the income statement. Resultantly, when your sale is more than production or when your opening stock is more than closing stock, it would mean that the previous period fixed cost included in the opening stock, it gets expensed. Resultantly, your variable costing income would be higher than your absorption costing income. So you need to keep this in mind. You need to note this down. This will be helpful to solve many questions. Now, I told you under absorption costing, a manager can manipulate profit by deliberately producing more. There is a perverse incentive in the absorption costing to produce more and more and more. The more you produce, you can show higher profit. Operating income increases whenever production is more than sales under the absorption costing. That's the incentive managers have, and they will try to make good use of this incentive and deliberately produce more and more so as to artificially increase their production. So managers can increase absorption based operating income by just increasing production. This is a problem for the company. So not only this is a cheating, this is unethical, but company will also have to carry more inventory. It will involve more carrying cost, more insurance, more obsolescence, more inventory theft, more deterioration. Right? So this is a loss company, loss situation for the company, right? So this approach, a very bad approach, this is called producing not to sell, producing for inventory. You are producing not to sell, you are producing for inventory. So this is clearly violation. Yes, Agos, I will explain the idea. Look at this. This is the next example here. Look at this. Look at year 1. We produced 40,000 units, but we sold only 30,000 units. So our production is more than sales. Resultantly, we have ending inventory $10,000, right? So since we have produced more, we sold less. And when we calculate profit, you can see this example in your book. Your profit is 10,100. And this made us very happy. Why? Because we were able to transfer more and more of our fixed cost into these 10,000 units and the profit was higher. Now, taking on the same idea of cheating, we increase our production from 40 to 50. We increase our production from 40,000 units to 50,000 units, whereas we could only sell 30. Since we have increased our production even more, look at this, what has happened. Your profit has gone up even further, 10,100 and now 10,600. So you can see whenever the production is more than sales, your fixed cost gets absorbed into your closing stock, and this is what causes the profits to go up. Closing stock swells, it carries more fixed cost, hence the profit, because whenever your closing stock is high, look at this, 6,000, now your closing stock is 17,500. So as you keep on increasing your closing stock because of fixed cost, your profit will go up. And look at this, what has happened in the last year. In the last year, there was no production, let's say, but the sale was 30,000. All the previous year closing stock was sold, which means all the previous year fixed cost which was absorbed now gets expensed. In this third year, your sale is more than production, and all the previous year fixed cost now gets expensed. And look at this, the profit is terrible. See, whenever your production is more than sales, you have high profits. But when your sale is more than production, all the previous cheating, all the previous transferring of fixed costs into the finished goods, it eventually is released to the income statement. And look at the profit. It has fallen drastically. So despite having same selling units, despite having same selling price, this is quite surprising to me that even the selling price is same, number of units sold are same. How can we have drastically different profits? This was all caused because of the manipulation of production and sales. You deliberately produced more than sales and you were able to transfer fixed costs into the closing stock. Hence, you were able to manipulate your profit. But in the third year, it didn't become sustainable. Eventually, all the fixed costs included in these 30,000 units gets expensed, resultantly profit falls. There are many examples in your GLIME questions, and you will get a fuller understanding. Now, how do we remove this problem of manipulation? What we will do now, we will use variable costing. Under variable costing, sale is same, profit is same. See, there is a very clear correlation. Sale and profits, they are absolutely correlated now. If sale is same, profits will be the same. But previously, profit depended entirely on production. You produce more, you get higher profit. You produce more, you get higher profit. When you produce nothing, look at what has happened with the profit. So that's the problem with absorption costing, that it's but overall in the long run, if you see in the long run, overall profits in both systems will be equalized. So you're just buying time. It's not something that you can carry on for years and years into future. Eventually, at some point in time, the profits under absorption and variable, they get equated. So this is not something that can be sustained in the long run. Can be done for in the short while, but something not sustainable in the long run. It's an important point to be remembered. So finally, okay, so moving forward further with the same idea. So now we know under variable costing, if we use variable costing, a manager cannot manipulate income. Why? Because in variable costing, whenever the sale goes up, the profit goes up. If the sale goes up, profit goes up. If sale falls, profit will fall. So you will have a very nice relationship, observable relationship between profits and your sales. They move up and down in the same direction. And as I said, in the long run, two methods will have the same total profit as I show you in the previous slide. So they will have the same profit. Right? So then what are the benefits of variable costing? I told you this is variable costing is only for us for internal reporting purpose, for performance evaluation purpose. It is not allowed, it is not permitted under the US GAAP or under the IFRS. Remember, so what are the benefits of using the variable costing? First benefit is we can use it for planning and control. Because fixed cost is not controllable, rent is not in your control, depreciation is not in your control. The costs that are in your control are the variable costs. So we use them in planning and control purpose. And moreover, this way a very explicit relationship between sales and your profit. Whenever sale goes up, profit goes up. Whenever sale falls, profit falls. Right? We just discussed this and that's been given here. So, but in absorption costing, you have a very, very erratic arrangement. In absorption costing, sometimes profit decrease, even the sales are going up. And interestingly, sometimes there is increase in profit when sales are going down. Same we saw in the previous example. So this is quite erratic, that your sales are falling, but your profit is going up. And when your sale is increasing, your profit is going down. So this anomaly, this confusion is removed by the variable costing. So that's basically the problem with the absorption costing. You produce more and more, and this more production means you will, so under the variable costing, production managers cannot manipulate income by producing more or less, right? So this is the advantage of variable costing. We can make better pricing decisions because we will be considering only those costs which are relevant. Fixed costs we have to pay. In the short run, we have to pay. So we will consider variable costs in pricing decisions, and it will also help us to decide whether should we produce that product ourselves or should we get it manufactured by some other outside service provider. Remember, this is the area, whatever we are doing now onwards in 2 or 3 slides, this is something that is discussed in much more detail in your CMA Part 2, Section C, that whether should we make an item ourselves. This is called make versus buy decision. Make versus buy. That should we make the item ourselves or should we buy? So in that decision making, we consider variable costing. It's a very helpful tool used in CMA Part 2 also. It helps you in setting your prices. So this is quite a helpful tool which will go a long way in your preparation. All right. And I think this is the last slide. Again, this is related to your CMA Part 2. Disinvestment decisions. Let's say you have 2 segments, segment A, segment B. And segment A overall is in profit, but B is giving a loss. Should we discontinue B? For this, we use variable costing because fixed cost you have to pay. We will only consider the variable cost of running department B. if variable costs are not being covered, like let's say if the total variable cost is $10,000 and the company is generating only, let's say, $9,000, which means the variable cost is more, revenue is less, so it's justified to close B. But if you are generating 90,000 revenue and variable cost is only 10,000, even full fixed cost is not being covered, but at least division B is covering your variable cost quite nicely and giving you a nice handsome contribution of $9,000. So you should continue with B, should not disinvest. So variable costing is also very helpful in deciding that should we discontinue a certain division or should we not. So this is quite a helpful example. And as I said that these 2 or 3 slides we have just done, they are very much related to your CMA Part 2 Section C, and you will do there and then. So let's discuss an important formula which will be used in some computations. Now let's say I have 2 systems side by side. On one side I have absorption based profit. On the other side I have variable costing based profit. I want to reconcile them. I want to equate them, that how are they equal. So gentlemen, what I'm going to tell you is something very important, will help you solve many questions on absorption variable costing. I want to take one profit and move to the other, or take the variable costing move. In other, I just want to reconcile them. I just want to bring what causes the difference. Now look at this, what I'm going to do. Step 1. Take the difference between opening stock and closing stock. If opening stock and closing stock are not given, or in that case, take the difference between production and sales. The first step you need to do when you want to reconcile both profits, or you just want to find out if the absorption costing profit is 10, what will be the variable costing profit? If variable costing profit is 5, what will be the absorption profit? And how they are correlated. So that's what we're going to do. In step 1, you need to find out the difference between opening stock and closing stock. If it's not available, then take the difference between production and sales. They will be the same. The number that you get here or here, they will be the same. In the second step, you need to find the overhead absorption rate, what you call the fixed overhead rate per unit. Fixed overhead rate per unit, that's what you need to find the difference. That's what you need to correlate or equate both of these systems. In the third step, you will use this very helpful equation. You will write the difference between opening stock and closing stock, or production or sales. Let's call it X, or let's call it D. Let's call it D. Let's call it D. D, that is the difference between opening stock and closing stock, or difference between production and sales, multiplied by the fixed overhead rate, which we have calculated here, or which is given to you already, FOH rate. It will be equal to difference in profits under both systems. Please take a snapshot. This is very helpful for you for solving many complex absorption variable costing questions. Difference in profits under both systems. Let me repeat this. Please excuse me my untidy handwriting. Absorption versus variable costing profit, they will be different whenever the production and sales are different. There are some steps to follow before we could reconcile them. The first step is take the difference between opening stock and closing stock. If they are not available, take the difference between production and sales. Call it D. I put it as D. Take those units, difference in units, multiply this with the fixed overhead rate per unit. This would be given in most of the cases. Otherwise, you can find it yourself. It's not a big deal. You can find it yourself by dividing your budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted units, or by budgeted production. This can be found out using this relationship. Budgeted fixed overheads divided by budgeted production. This will give you the fixed overhead rate per unit, that what is the fixed cost that goes into each unit. Let me show you right here. See, this is your fixed manufacturing cost, budgeted fixed manufacturing cost. Let's erase this. This is your budgeted fixed manufacturing cost, BFUH, that is the budgeted fixed overheads or fixed manufacturing cost, divided by budgeted production in units. Remember, you need to take the units in the denominator. So our budgeted fixed overhead is $100,000, and you divide it with the budgeted production of $5,000 or 5,000 units. So it means each unit carries $20 of fixed overheads. Each unit we produce, it carries with it $20 worth of fixed cost. That's the number we need. And that's what we plug in here, 20. Take the difference between opening and closing stock, multiply it with 20. Whatever the result comes, it is the difference in profits under both systems. Let us apply this concept in a question. Does it really work? This is it. Now look at this. Mill Corporation had the following unit costs for the recently concluded calendar year. Variable manufacturing cost, $8. Fixed manufacturing cost, $3. That's what we are interested in. It's on per unit basis. Non-manufacturing cost, variable, $2, and non-manufacturing fixed cost is 5.5. Now what we are interested in, we are only interested in this part, fixed manufacturing overhead. We're not concerned with the non-manufacturing part, just this three. This is the FOH rate which we are supposed to find out. FOH rate per unit. $3 per unit. Read it again. Mill Corporation had the following unit cost for the recently concluded calendar year. We need the fixed manufacturing cost per unit, that is $3. Right? Now, it says, remember there are 3 steps. In the first step, you need to find the difference between the production and sales, or opening stock or closing stock. It says inventory for mill sold product total 6,000 units in January and 5,200 units in December. So the difference between closing and opening stock is 800. Fixed overhead rate is $3. Right? Apply the formula. Difference in units, production and sales or opening or closing stock, multiplied by the FOH rate. It will give you the difference in profit under both systems. So we have difference in units between opening stock and closing stock, or sales or production. If it's given, it's 800. Fixed overhead absorption rate is 3. It comes out to be 2,400, which means the difference of profit between two systems will be 2,400. Difference in profits under absorption costing and under variable costing. The difference will be $2,400, which means either A or B is the right answer. Now let's probe further into detail. We just discussed a little while ago, whenever production is more than sales, right? Or in other words, whenever the closing stock is more than opening stock, in that case, the absorption costing profit would be higher. Conversely speaking, whenever sale is more than production, or whenever the opening stock is more than closing stock, what would it mean? Since you have sold more units than produced, so your previous absorbed fixed cost gets expensed into the income statement. Hence, more expense means you will have less income, so you will have less absorption based income if the scenario 2 is observed. Now let us see what is the case here. Inventory for mill sold product total 6,000 on January 1st. Opening stock was 6,000 units and the closing stock was 5,200 units. That clearly means that we sold more than production. That's why your opening stock has fallen to 5,200 by the year end. Sale is more than production, which means your absorption costing profit would be lower. By how much? By $2,400. Now let us read the statement now. Inventory for mill sold product total 6,000 units in opening stock, 5,200 units in the closing stock. When compared to variable costing income, absorption costing profit would be, Umar, think again, because your opening stock is more than closing stock, this line is applicable. Second line is applicable. Your sale is more than production, and that's the reason your opening stock is higher, closing stock is less. because you sold more out of your opening stock. So in this case, your absorption costing profit would be 2400 lower. Your absorption costing profit would be 2400 lower. So that makes A to be the correct option.